All right, guys, we're here at the beach, which could only mean one thing. We have a brand new Puerto Rican landscape challenge, and today I take on a brand new challenger, David Strauss. What? All right, so you have not been a part of one of these yet.
I know, I'm really excited. You are like the reigning champion. How many times have you won now?
Undefeated, just twice.
Twice?
But we're about to add 3 to this.
No way, I've got this easy.
I think for this one, we don't really have any strict rules. The last one we shot like portraits in a cave.
Yep.
I think this one, we're here in our neighborhood in Palmas. I think it should be landscapes. I don't want to put you in a box and tell you exactly what it needs to be, but we do have an interesting sponsor for this video.
Today we have the Nissi 100mm V6 filter holder system. This is their brand new line that holds pretty much any 100mm filter. So we've got a 3-stop graduated neutral density filter, a 6-stop neutral density filter, and a 10-stop neutral density filter.
So if we want to do some long exposures, or if we want to try to get everything right in camera by darkening the sky versus the foreground.
Got a lot of variety.
It's also a lot of equipment for you to destroy. So
yes,
there's a chance that all 3 filters will be broken before I even get the chance to use them. If you don't know David, David's notoriously known for doing complex photo shoots.
Yes.
And also simultaneously destroying a lot of gear.
From time to time, it's important to have insurance.
So we've been destroying a lot of gear here in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you guys
We actually only have 1 DSLR in the office, so I don't know what you're gonna be shooting on, but
I'll find something.
We'll make this work. So I guess we should split up. We have 48 hours to get our shot. And then we're gonna do a quick edit because you're about to leave here in a few days.
Yep.
And we gotta reveal our pictures to each other.
Let's
do it. And then we'll let the community decide who has the winning shot.
You're going down, Patrick.
I don't know. I've heard that before. So my plan is to shoot in a location that I don't think David is going to be able to find. And right down here is probably the most beautiful part of Palmas. It's a little tricky to get to. You may recognize this location from a video we did a few weeks ago where Lee shot a landscape right at this exact spot. I'm gonna go around the corner a little bit just to vary it up and make it look a little different, but I'm pretty sure David doesn't know about the spot, and my main worry is that he's gonna do the exact same photo that I'm gonna do. So we gotta hike down all the way here, get down to the bottom of this little beach, and then go around the corner, but I think this spot's gonna be perfect. This little path is definitely challenging. And you probably don't wanna do this in flip-flops, but that's the Puerto Rican lifestyle. This feels a little bit like Angel's Landing.
It is 1:30 in the morning. I spent all afternoon scouting around the local beaches and stuff. Lee took me around a little bit, but I still feel like I'm at a huge disadvantage here because Patrick knows the island, he knows the spots, and I didn't really get that much help from him. I scouted with my iPhone a little earlier today, and if the apps and my calculations were right, the sun is going to come up right in the middle of my frame. Plus, if I can get any star trails, they'll be coming up right over the island via Quez. And I feel like this will be a really cool composition if I can pull it off. Lee was very unexcited about coming out. He refused to actually come and help film me because he is convinced that this is not going to be a success, and he doesn't want to wake up early because, you know, it's Lee. So I'm going to head out. I'm going to take this bike and my gear. I'm going to take a really cool image. Patrick is not going to see this coming.
All right, so we made it down to the bottom. You might be asking, what's in the bag? Well, let's find out. So first off, I've squeezed a tripod in this bag, believe it or not. So this is the Manfrotto 055. Today I'm gonna be shooting with a ball head so I can get my camera vertical. So that's the tripod. Now I would say I have my trusty D850, but we destroyed that camera a few days ago. So I have my trusty D750. And I have the Tamron 24 to 70 millimeter lens. I wanted to use this lens because it can fit the filters on the front, and I don't think I'm gonna be shooting ultra wide. Now what we have here is the 100 millimeter V6 Nissi filter system. It comes in this nice little bag with a strap, which is going to be really nice when I walk out here to the rocks. And if I open this, I actually haven't seen these yet. Look at that. So these are 100 millimeters. This looks like a 6-stop filter. I can just barely see through it. So this V6 100 holder system is gonna be perfect for this lens, but if you have a different lens, you could definitely adapt it to that lens no matter what the filter size is. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave my backpack here. I'm going to take my camera, the Nissi filter holder system, and I'm going to take my tripod. And it looks like the tide is down, which is really good. The tide doesn't vary a lot, but the waters out here are definitely treacherous. I'm gonna just walk around and see if I can find my location and go ahead and get set up for position because the sun's setting quickly and I'm worried I'm gonna run out of light here soon.
So I have my camera set up. It's on the tripod in a somewhat precarious position. I don't know that Lee and Patrick would approve. I've got the legs wedged in the rocks and I think it's pretty secure, but if anything goes wrong, this thing could topple straight into the ocean. I got out here, I set everything up, and then it started raining. This Puerto Rican weather is ridiculous. I feel like the skies were clear 20 minutes ago and now it's raining and the lens got a little bit of water droplets on it before I covered it, so I don't know what else to do but just call it tonight. It sucks that this is a waste of a whole night, and Lee was right that tonight would have some sort of failure, but hopefully tomorrow will turn out better.
All right, so my plan is to walk around this corner here. Luckily the tide's really low. I've been out here before and the tide is about knee deep. But I think I want to set up right here on these rocks, and I just want to shoot that cliff face over there, and then hopefully I can do some kind of long exposure for the water or maybe even the sky. So let's hike out here. This is the one hairy area. It does get deep right here. All right, so I think my shot is somewhere here. There's really not a lot of locations that I can go because it gets really deep and a lot of these rocks are really wet. But I've been playing with my camera off the tripod and scouting a few different shots. And I think the photo that I want is actually gonna be a vertical shot. If I shoot a horizontal shot, I get this amazing house on the hill, but I don't think I want this shot to really be about a house. I wanna look like I'm in the middle of nowhere. Now, if I get a shot right here vertically, I can get this nice little Z pattern. I get these rocks in the foreground, I get these rocks going out, but then I get that nice cliff face way out in the distance. I think this looks pretty cool.
All right guys, I am back out and tonight looks incredible. I got my camera set up in the same place as last night, so it wasn't a total loss. I found my position right away. I dialed in the composition again, and now we have an incredible sky of stars to shoot tonight. I'm so excited. I want to get just some static stars, so I'm gonna shoot a few images right now with my settings at 1/13 of a second, ISO 1600 and 3200 to give me a little bit of exposure options, and my aperture is at 2.8 to leave it wide open and let the most light possible in. Obviously I'm being lit by a video light right now that I set up, but I'm gonna turn that off and capture this completely dark sky. There's not much light pollution and the moon has set, so I'm pretty sure we can get some amazing stuff. We have a few scattered clouds passing through the sky, so I'm not sure how a time-lapse and star trails will turn out. Often if a cloud passes through a star trail, then it disrupts the trail and doesn't look as good. So tonight is as good of a shot as any though, from all the nights I've been here in Puerto Rico, and especially from last night. After I shoot a few images of the stars with a little more static of a shutter speed at that 1/13 of a second, I'm gonna lengthen my shutter to 1/32nd exposure. That will start to give the stars some trails in camera already, but since I'm gonna combine potentially hundreds of images in post, I kinda want that extra star trail so I can just blend them all together and make one long trail. I'm shooting with the D750 here, which is great because it has an intervalometer mode built in. So I'm gonna set the intervalometer to shoot for my 30-second exposure, and let's let the camera run for the next couple hours and see what kind of trails we get. So camera is running. There is nothing else to do but take a nap on the beach and stare at the stars. Not a bad life.
Now, one thing I've noticed is if I'm standing on this rock, I'm in a safer location from the water, but this main rock face right in front of me goes below the horizon. If I come down here, I have to deal with the water, but I can now get that rock face to be above the horizon, and I think it makes all of these rocks look a little bit more epic. So I think my shot is actually gonna be here. I just hope that the tide's not coming in, otherwise I'm gonna be screwed. Now right now it's about 6:15, sunset's in about 45 minutes. I think I have enough light in the sky to do some really cool long exposures that aren't going to be obscenely long with a neutral density filter. But what I wanna do first, I wanna get my tripod. Let me go ahead and get this all set up. get my composition nailed, and then I'm probably gonna work on the water. I think I'm gonna do 2 different exposures. I think I'm gonna do a shorter exposure for the water, and then try to do a really long exposure for the sky, and then just blend the 2 together. Apparently we have octopus out here and they're hitting our cameraman. Woo! All right, so I got my vertical composition, and from experience, what I know I need to do is take a exposure for the water that's about 1/2 second to 1 second long. It's still too bright out here without any filters. So right now I'm at about 1/100th of a second. So what I wanna do is find the 6-stop filter, which is this one here. I'm gonna add this to the front of my filter holder. It's always fun to do out on location with water spraying everywhere. And now I can change my camera down to, let's try 1/2 second. And this exposure looks pretty good. My sky's still a little bright, but the water actually looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna sit here for maybe the next minute and take a bunch of shots of the water as it comes up over the rocks. And I think this 1/2 exposure is gonna be perfect for the foreground. And then I think with this crazy sky that we have, I'm gonna try to do a really, really long exposure, maybe 5 minutes, and try to get the sky to have some abstract look to it. I feel pretty good about this composition. I don't think David's gonna have anything this good. And if David isn't shooting right now at sunset, there's a very good chance he's gonna have really bad weather in the next 48 hours. Either it's gonna be too overcast and boring, or it might be a really clear sky and also boring. So I feel really good about this sky. We also have all these nice pelicans flying around. Maybe I could add some pelicans to my shot too.
All right, guys, I took a nap on the beach. As you can see, the light is out. I'm not sure how well the clouds are gonna light up. I think we might have to wait till the sun gets pretty close to sunrise to see any color in them. But in the meantime, I'm still focusing on my sky. I feel like I could potentially do some cool stuff with long, long exposures. So it's already bright enough that my 30-second exposures are overexposing in the camera. So I've added my 6-stop neutral density filter, and I've put the camera in bulb mode. Nikon has a bulb mode that when you push the trigger, it holds until you push the trigger again. So I've dialed in the exposure to where it's about 4 minutes per exposure. That way it'll give the clouds plenty of time to pass over the sky and create nice blurring effects. I tend to find that around this time of day, every 2 to 3 minutes, the exposure goes up 1 stop. So you kind of have to anticipate this. I'm not really using a scientific method to nail the exposure for each shot when we're doing these long, long exposures, but I have a pretty good feel that around every 2 to 3 minutes, the light's gonna get that much brighter, and so I need to stop down my shutter a little bit more or lower my ISO. I've switched my camera over to f8 just to have a little more depth of field at this point and allow for those longer exposures. There's no reason to be at 2.8 anymore. Since it's already getting brighter, I'm going to add the 10-stop neutral density filter so that we can get this super long exposure, blurring clouds effect. I'm gonna plan to continue on doing this for about another 30 minutes because until the clouds have some color in them, it's still kind of a bland sky.
So I've taken about 10 to 15 shots just shooting with about 1/2 of a second exposure to get the water looking good, and I think it looks really awesome. So I do have some great skies with a really quick shutter, and I could use those if I want, but now that the sun's starting to set, I wanna do some really long exposures. So what I'm gonna do is take out this 6-stop filter. I'm gonna move over to the 10-stop filter. And as you can see with a 10-stop filter, you can't see through this at all, which means I gotta make sure that my focus and everything is locked down. I actually have the camera in manual because I don't want my focus changing if I'm gonna stack multiple images on top. And you also wanna put your hand in front of your lens anytime a wave comes. So now with the 10-stop filter, I'm gonna put this in place. I'm gonna be shooting several minute exposures, which means I need to change my camera into a bulb mode. So with my phone, I'm gonna go to the timer, I'm gonna set it to 4 minutes, I'm gonna hit the shutter on my camera, start my timer, And now I'm just gonna wait 4 minutes and see if the exposure looks about right to get these nice streaky clouds. All right, let's see what we got. That actually looks perfect. Woo! So now for the next like 20 minutes, I'm gonna continue to take these 4-minute exposures, and each time I'm probably gonna add another minute or two because the sun's gonna go down, there's gonna be less light in the sky, and I know I'm gonna need a lot longer exposures as the night goes on. Hopefully I can get about 5 shots. I'm gonna pick the best sky from that one shot, and then I'm just gonna composite it in so that I have the 1/2 second exposure in the foreground and the 4 or 5 minute exposure for the sky.
So in about 20 minutes, I'm gonna start focusing on the foreground. The light is nice and soft on these rocks, which I want for now because I envision the final shot not having any sun or hard light in them. And I need to soften out these waves in a nice, pleasing way. Now some of you might be wondering, why didn't I just blur out the water and get a nice wave effect when it was darker? Why bother waiting until I have to use my ND filters? When it was dark, we weren't getting the proper tones and colors reflecting in the water itself. So now that the sky is blue, yellow, and we're starting to get a little bit of color in the clouds, those colors will be reflected in the water, and so those are the colors I want to match in my final image. All right, so the sun is coming up and it's time to shoot the waves. I'm going to keep on the 6-stop neutral density filter and take my shutter to around 1/4, play with some shots where I have various waves hitting the rocks, trying to blur them in fun and interesting ways. All right, guys, I think that wraps up this shoot for me. The sun is well above the horizon. I managed to get a few stars. I managed to get some blurry clouds, some great wave splashes, and I love my compositions. So we need to take all these photos back into Photoshop, mess around with it, and see what my final image is gonna look like. I have a feeling that I'm still dominating Patrick right now, but we will see.
Knowing David, he's probably just gonna do like 1 10-minute exposure. The water's gonna be super smooth but look really fake, and he's gonna call it a day. So I think by blending these 2 exposures, I think I'm gonna have the leg up in this competition. Now I know a lot of photographers would say, you just gotta get it all right in camera, but the reality is if I want an exposure for 1/2 second on the water, but I want those streaky skies, I'm gonna have to do 2 different techniques to pull this off. So I think by blending in the sky with 1 exposure and then the foreground with another, I'm gonna be able to get a really good looking photograph by just blending 2 single frames. So I think this shoot was a pretty good success. I got about 15 images, which is really all I need to composite and make 1 single photo. But I'm really excited I didn't see David out here because 1, that means he's not gonna have as incredible of a location as I have. And 2, this weather is perfect. There's a good chance if he shoots tomorrow, the weather's not gonna be nearly as nice. So I hope he gets good weather because I wanna beat him fairly, but you never know out here in Puerto Rico. All right, so here we are back in the studio. It is time to reveal not only our images, but the community's results.
Indeed. How did you feel about everything?
I feel like I could have had a better day. I think maybe you filmed on a different day than I did.
Well, I ended up filming on 2 days.
Okay, well,
shooting.
I just went out one time, and I feel like my image is respectable. There's probably some things people are going to be upset about, but I like my photo. I think it's good for what it is, and I feel pretty confident that I'm going to beat you.
Well, I'm pretty sure that my image is a winner, but it was a little bit experimental, I have to admit. And
that's trouble for David.
I mean, it was amazing, I think. But I went out the first night of the competition, and it was completely a failure. It started raining as soon as I'd gotten set up, and didn't really get anything. But I did find my composition. So next night, beautiful stars, amazing, and I was able to get everything. I wanted to get like super long star trails, but there was too many clouds. But yeah, we'll see. You'll see.
Well, mine was quite easy. I went out for like 30 minutes, took a picture, went home, had dinner, slept in my bed. Are you ready to see each other's images?
Let's see what you did. Okay, so this is your before.
This is my after. This is the final image. I went with a really white, blown out sky. No, this is the before. This is a. So what I wound up doing is, you'll see in a minute.
This is a nice location.
Yeah, I was worried about finding something that we haven't featured in one of our videos already. So I felt like this was different enough.
Yeah.
So what I did was I used the 6-stop filter, to get a quarter of a second, maybe 1 second, somewhere around there, to get the water to blur really nicely. And then I thought, the sky wasn't great, so I thought, what if I did a really long exposure, like 4 or 5 minutes, by using the 10-stop filter, and then composite the two together? Maybe I could create an image with a really, really long.
Yeah, this was my issue the first night, is those clouds rolled in and rained on me.
Yeah, the skies here changed really quickly.
So quickly.
So if you scroll
All
over,
right, let's see the final. Ooh, interesting clouds. I like that. So what is with this grain?
the grain.
Yeah, this image is really grainy. What's happening?
I
here,
added
Patrick?
a little grain in post just to bring it all together.
Okay, that was intentional.
Well, I shot at ISO 50.
It's an interesting creative choice.
You feel like it's that grainy?
I mean, just in the waves, I can definitely notice.
Yeah,
it.
well, I shot at ISO 50, and when I started compositing the sky, which is like a 5-minute exposure, with the quarter of a second exposure, it's like the files are too clean. They're too clean. Like it almost looks hyper real. So in doing all the color grade and everything, I just put a little bit of grain on top of it to make it blur a little bit better, to mix the two exposures. I kind of like it.
In that first shot, I definitely don't notice these pelicans. Were those in the second shot, in that 5-minute exposure?
Yeah,
they
so
just
the pelicans, they were
there for 5
hovered.
minutes.
So I'm sure a lot of people are going to give me crap about the pelicans. I will make a stance that like 100% of all photography is not real. If you take a picture at 1,000th of a shutter, or you take a picture at 5 minutes, none of those events are real.
Sure.
So for me, if I'm going to already combine two exposures together, a long sky and then a short foreground, that picture itself isn't real, because you can't get the sky to look like that and have the foreground look like that. So I took a little liberty, and I thought, the pelicans were there. I took some shots of pelicans.
Sure.
I added a few pelicans in there in the background just to add to it.
Just put a bird on it.
Just put a bird on it. This isn't the first time I've added birds to a picture like this. I think the general community out there will like the birds. I think our photo community is going to be like, that's not realistic because they're not blurred. But none of this is realistic. Like, this isn't reality.
Sure. I have to agree. I like the birds added to the overall composition, and I can't give you any crap because I combined way more images into one final image than you. So I like the color. I like the flow of the image too. Like this pattern of rocks is really nice and like leads my eye through the frame. I think overall the toning seems to match pretty well too, so it doesn't seem that unreal.
I didn't really do anything crazy.
All right,
let's see what you did.
All right, so this is the very simplest of befores because, like I said,
so you're shooting towards Vieques.
I'm shooting straight towards Vieques.
And look at all the lights out there. I don't think I've ever seen.
It was such a starry night too, man. It was beautiful out there.
But I mean, the lights on Vieques, I don't think
yeah.
I've ever seen that.
Yeah, they were casting this weird yellow glow to all my images, but it looks
like you're on a cliff face. Like, how far are you from falling off?
So I'm actually on the beach, and then I put the tripod up on a rock just a little bit. It's a little bit high. I just wanted to give some elevation for this perspective. And me and my Atlas in the Sun style shoots. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
they've seen it.
Yeah,
yes, they know.
I planned this so that the sun would come up right in between, right over Vieques and right in between these rock elements.
If you're going to do what I think you're going to do, you're going to have like the sun right coming towards the
camera.
camera.
I wanted to give myself options. So I shot all night. I actually managed to get some star trails, but clouds came in really quick, and so didn't give me a ton of options.
Okay.
And anyway, so let's see the
final
image.
What the final image is. Whoa, that is vibrant. So this is the part of the critique where I either praise you or I be realistic and true to myself and give you my critiques.
Yeah, I want to hear the real.
Okay, so
before you get into it, I have to admit this looks a little bit brighter than what I intended. So
I'm not going to talk about brightness.
All right, well, there's a
lot. Before I even saw this picture, and I go back to the previous one, the biggest thing that I don't like about this photo is just the composition. I'm not a huge fan of the foreground. It just looks like there's too many lines. Like, I admit my image isn't world class. I'm the first one to say that. But like, I felt like I had a Z pattern and your eye could go somewhere. This one, I'm not a big fan of, I almost want to see more of that little island. Maybe if I like...
Zoom it in a little bit more?
Maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if I like the stars or not.
So that was my experimental thing. I wanted to blend a kind of star trails into a sunrise-ish shot, and I was hoping for a little more color in the clouds, but I never really got it.
How many shots is this?
I mean, the star trails ended up being, I think, 30 images
but other
total.
than the stars, like how many?
Then I did one for the sky blend, one for the rocks, and then several for the waves, actually.
Yeah.
Did like 3 or 4 to get the perfect wave patterns.
Now, for my photo, I intentionally did not do a very long exposure for the water, but I kind of like what the water's doing here.
Yeah.
It's got this painterly feel that I think really works. I do really like how the tone and stuff and the feel of the waves are. What did you use? Was this a 6-stop or a 10-stop?
What I did was just open lens for all the star shots, obviously, and then early at dawn, I put on the 6-stop ND filter and went for some like 4-minute exposures with the clouds to try to really blur them.
Oh, so you did, okay.
Yep, and then I put on the 10-stop as the sun started to come up, got it even brighter, and then for the waves, I ended up going back to the 6-stop, and I think it was about 1/4 of a second, half a second shutter as well. So I think after looking at it for a little longer too, I have to agree, it does feel a little wide and long, and part of that is actually, I wanted to keep enough sky room to try out the star technique, and so I needed enough sky space.
What were you shooting at? What lens did you
24
use?
millimeters.
24 millimeters, okay.
Yeah.
So that's still not super wide for stars. Was that the issue that you had?
Yeah.
You wanted it to have even more sky?
A little bit. And there wasn't much room in the... If I had pushed the composition any wider, I would have either had too much space to the left of the rock.
Yeah.
There might already be a little bit too much space. And then, like you said, the plant wasn't adding anything, so...
I'm excited to know, though, that you found a location that I've never been to. Like,
yeah,
I have no idea where this is.
I climbed over rocks
Well, that's
in
why.
the middle of the night, and man, it's tricky to get to, but should we see what the community...
Yes, so we can head over to the website.
Who do you think won after looking at it?
I feel very confident.
No!
I feel...
Oh, man, I was
Yeah.
going to say the same thing.
Really? You feel stronger now.
I think, yeah.
I feel like it's going to be, if I had to guess.
I think
it's gonna be
60-40 in my favor.
See, I would have gone 60-40 in mine. I feel pretty good about it. I think this might be one of the wider ranges. Like the first time I won and Lee's image was just so crazy.
Yeah.
But I think they were pretty close. And then in the cave shootout, Josh and I had very different images.
Yeah, I mean, these
even
are
though we
pretty
shot
different
portraits
as well.
These
too.
are very different, but I feel more confident now than
All
ever
right.
that I will get the 3-win streak going, and you will not have to come back here to redeem yourself. Maybe in the losers category.
I'll just
Maybe
take
you and
home
Lee.
the belt, and like UFC,
You and
it'll
Lee
just-
can go at it.
over the course of time, it'll dissipate out of my...
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So let's go to the website and see what the results are.
All right. Oh my
Oh, that was a slaughter.
Oh.
Photo 1 is clearly the better image at 71%.
Oh, that hurts.
Wow.
Man,
I was really nervous going into this.
I put more faith into my experimental technique clearly than I should have.
I didn't do anything too experimental except add the birds, which I've already done before.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you people are probably upset with the birds. What do you think people are going to say about
I
the
mean,
photo?
it's a little like I said before. It's pretty clear to any photographer that birds don't stand still in a long blurred exposure.
But stars don't blur either.
No,
like,
for sure. But I think my technique clearly has more of that vibe of like the more ethereal, like landscapey feel. But clearly people did not enjoy that. Well, congratulations. You retain the belt. You don't have to fly me back to...
Well, you are
compete with
welcome back
something else.
anytime, and as we do
That was
more of
fun.
these, we might have to get a couple other brackets going where there's like people working their way back up to me.
Yeah, I can take on take on Lee for second best.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
you know,
sure.
but-
And nothing would make me more happy than for you to destroy Lee. That would be the ultimate. Lee would probably retire if that happened.
I look forward to that day.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to get your own set of these filters by Nissi, you can head to the description below. We have the link to everything that we used. Did you use the graduated neutral density filter?
I never did.
Neither
but
did I. So we both used the solid filter. But
yeah, I think it was just my composition and the length of time I needed didn't call for it, but
Yeah.
it would be a pretty cool filter, I think, if you needed
Yeah, these
something
things
a
were
little
great.
shorter.
They were really easy to work with, and luckily we didn't destroy any gear on this trip, so I'm happy with that. But if you head to the description, you can check those out, and then stay tuned, subscribe to our YouTube channel for the next shootout. I don't know when that will be occurring. And if you want to learn from some of the best photographers in the world, head over to fstoppers.com/store, where you can check out a lot of the tutorials that David's helped us produce and edit.
Love it.
Yeah, so let's get out of here. Lee just did a new edit here at the very end, and I think I like that a lot.
I don't like it anymore.
Is that a real sky you had, or did you drop a sky library photo in there?
That was one of mine.
This is real.
That's the sky you had, and you didn't use that, David?
I wanted to do, I was sticking to my creative.
Oh my gosh.
Sticking to my guns.
I think you would have been close. I don't know if you would have won, but you would have been closer.
Maybe.